Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst radio network. All past shows are podcasts. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. We welcome your email questions and comments, dj@artistfirst.com. And now here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, C-Man. And you know, Margaret, one thing we've stopped doing? We've stopped counting. I have no clue what episode of The Soul of the Everyman this is. Let's say it's less than 1,000.
Okay.
But not much less than 1,000. Anyway, it doesn't matter, does it? Each one is a precious gem.
String of pearls.
Before swine. That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true. These aren't pearls. Moving on. So tonight, tonight is going to be an interesting show, if I must say so myself, because I think a lot of what we talk about might be characterized from one point of view or another as sort of well, I'll say it not for me but for you, as sort of the teachings of a spiritual master. And you know, were I to hear that somebody say it about me for whatever reason, they never would, I would want to push back on that, because I never think of what we're doing as being anything other than you and I having a conversation. Really, and this goes throughout, I'll speak for myself now, throughout my whole career as an engineer. I've had many opportunities and continue to have opportunities to teach. But I take each one of those opportunities as merely a sharing of experience or of knowledge gained through hard work or through study. And when it's shared, it's given freely to those who are just willing to listen. You know, often it's collaborative. And by that I mean that you're teaching those with whom you're also working with. It isn't sort of a wisdom that you're handing down from on high, or something that's in a textbook, or you know, they have these seminars, you know, where you're the master. And we've seen this, you know, in other ways. Some of the things that Sadhguru was talking about, where in essence becoming, that he was very leery of becoming the master, if you will. Even the little monk who was, I don't remember his name, but who was living at the top of the mountain in the Himalayas, and he was seeking enlightenment, and yet he would, you know, the villagers would treat him with great reverence, but his focus was never on becoming the master. It was just following his path. And
right.
and when you reach certain, I think you see it in the middle levels of spiritual teachers. There are those who want the title, and they want the acclamation. They want the accolades. They want to have the platform. They want people to listen to them. They want followers. And you know, we see it in many examples in the New Testament in Christ's teaching, where he says things and you're like, wow, Jesus, we had all these followers and you just cheesed off like 95% of them. And they left. What are we going to do now? It's like, but because he wasn't looking for followers.
Right.
He was looking, he had a message. He had an enlightenment that he had to share. But it wasn't to bring glory to his physical form. You know, he wasn't looking to be the guru, or to be placed on the mountaintop, or to be, you know, one of the the to use an example, one of the leaders of the Sanhedrin or one of the scribes, who were very much looking for the power and the authority and the accolades and the acclaim that their position would give them. So this evening's discussion is going to be about sort of those things. We have our favorite Tolle, who if you haven't taken the opportunity to listen or watch or see a video about Tolle, do so, because he's so clean and so his humility has nothing to do with even wanting to be praised for being humble, if you know what I mean. He's just he doesn't have any attraction to the trappings. He sees right through the trappings of spirituality, of being the master, of being the guru, the light worker, the angelic, all these titles. And he realizes that all of those are merely distractions at the end of the day. They're nothing more than yet another in the endless series of ego forms, of forms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's very much an example of enlightenment coming to a person in the Western world, because when enlightenment hit you in the Eastern world, you were usually in a monastery somewhere, or there is a term that they use for those that tuku. That's it, tuku. They basically are going for enlightenment, but they're not in a monastery. They're sort of off somewhere, doing their own thing, usually in the wilderness, seeking for enlightenment. And that's the Tibetan Buddhist term for a person who does that. When you say the little monk on the hill, or he was a tuku. His reincarnation line, he was destined to cross into that higher form of consciousness. And his mother, he was the only child she produced. So when the monks came to retrieve him, to bring him to a monastery, she basically told them all to go away. You're not taking my son. So they went away. And he proceeded to walk towards enlightenment, but not in a monastic situation. It was very interesting, because I believe he married someone, and they had a child, but then it fulfilled that line, the bloodline thing. But he went into the mountains, and what was it now? I think he was sitting in a ice cave for about a month.
Right.
Just amazing things that the Tibetan monks can do with the discipline they have and how to manage their body. He didn't die. That was amazing. But anyway, understanding that it's form. This is all form. And you are reaching for something much greater than the form that is around you. So yes, allowing yourself to realize that it's not the title. And the title, when I say title, it means more than you are the rabbi, or you are the teacher, or you are the guru, or you are the priest, or the
channel, the light worker, the Reiki master, all these terms.
It's exactly that. You are not the classification of the spiritual path that you are following, whatever the spiritual path may be, whether it is traditional religion or you're doing walking in another vein. And there are classifications that people will use. Like Tolle, people look at him as an enlightened master, but he doesn't think so. Looking at them going, no. You're not supposed to be looking at me.
Exactly. The whole thing is, and this is what Tolle very, very wisely or very naturally, he pierces through it by saying, if I were to have within me the image of myself identified as a spiritual master or a spiritual teacher and carry around this egoic identity, I am the great Eckhart Tolle. I am the channel of all light. I'm doing all whatever, put anything. Once you have the I am, whatever it is, I am the angelic. I'm the spiritual master. You've succumbed in a very subtle and almost sneaky way to the ego rising again. The ego, which through your discipline or through your enlightenment or through what your path is to live in the now, has let's say you said, I've slain my ego. I can finally now be a spiritual master. And there it is. You are no longer living in the moment. You're no longer living in the now. You're living in the created, inflated form of identifying as a spiritual master. And he said something very, very interesting in a different context, but it applies here. Is that if you want to test, or rather kind of understand how deeply the ego has rooted within you, or subtly come up again, allow someone, examine the reaction you have when someone contradicts you, when someone says you're wrong, or someone says you're this, you're that. And if there's a rising up of anger or fear or defense or attack, you know immediately that this is the ego trying to be right, trying to defend itself, trying to attack the other. That is, you are not the enlightened. You are less than. You are wrong. This is the way. This is the path. This is the light. And all of them, and by that I mean Buddha and Jesus and all the enlightened masters that have come to us through history, have said, I'm not trying to start a religion. I don't want you to follow me. This is not the way. This is a way.
I wouldn't put Jesus in that. You can lump together the Buddha and Tolle and a whole bunch of other, but that is you're entering a debate point now. What I'm looking at is walking in a way that clouds your thinking. In other words, if you sit, because this, how do I say this? When in Tibetan Buddhism, you are moving through your chakras, from your base chakra all the way up to your crown, okay? And there are 7 of them, the first being at the base and the 7th at the very crown of the head. At the 6th chakra, you're moving through meditation, and the idea is to go through straight to God, or that which is the force of all creation, source. Okay? And when I'm saying going through, this is part of their dying process. They have a very specific dying process where the soul is supposed to leave the body through one of these chakras. So if you leave through the top of the head, then you enter into or through the doorway to the source of life itself. You can call God if you'd like. Those are just words at this point. If you leave through the sixth, which is supposed to be your third eye, okay, you still are going towards God or heaven, but it has a form.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is for you to take a step higher and not cling to the form, because the form is not the source. The form is what you have used to identify it. I believe in the quote it said a roadmap. You know, this is your marker.
Signpost.
Signpost. This is your marker that tells you that, okay, this is the pathway I'm taking. But it is not the being state. Okay. And there are different flavors of that with all the different religions and spiritual followings, etc., etc. But the being state is key. And that is why I separate out the being state of the heart. The divine heart connection brings you through. And that's why I separate Jesus from the crew.
Maybe you missed it. I agree with you. I'm just saying I wasn't saying that. I wasn't trying to use the persona nor the being state. What I was saying is that all of them, Jesus and all, weren't trying to get followers. They weren't trying to say.
Their purpose was to communicate a message.
They even said, the quote I'm thinking is, to have life and have it more abundantly, to give not a, one of the other ones Christ said is I'm here to just, in essence, fulfill the law and get rid of it. What was the law? In the Hebrew tradition, the law was the way that you would get to, call God to the enlightened state. You would follow all the precepts of the law, and then there was all man's interpretations of the law, and you had all this stuff under the law. It was the way to get there. It was a series of rules. The Buddhists have all their series of rules they have to follow. You have to do this right action. All these things are more forms. They're signposts. Yes, you can get there if you follow the rules of Buddhism, or you follow the path of Christianity, or the path of enlightenment. All these different signposts, but each thing that you're doing there was in essence a way to become more Buddha-like, more Christ-like, more this, more that. None of them actually get you any further than a form. You become the guru, the mystic, the light worker, the pope, the head of this gigantic enterprise. But they're all just forms. They don't get you actually to the being state, to the Christ state, to the heart state, to the enlightened state, to source. You don't. If you go to each one of those forms, you're like leaving out a different chakra level. You're now I'm at this level. I have this, this form. I have these attributes. You're not there yet. but yet people can get spun up there. They can get sort of stuck there. That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. The message, the true way that Christ was trying to bring was, in essence, a relationship directly with Source, with God with Source as Father, as all things, as being into that from which we all come from, not all the rules, not all the, That's what I was trying to say. I agree with what you're saying. Does it make? I don't want to get spun off in that, but I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not saying that one is different from the other in that regard. They are all forms.
Okay. It is mistaking the form for the being state. That's the main issue.
Right.
I'm going to go back and correct you. What Jesus said was, I am here to fulfill the law, not destroy it, not get rid of it. Okay?
I thought I said fulfill the law.
You said fulfill the law and get rid of it, is what you said. And it is not get rid of it. Fulfill the law. So, going back. Yes. There are the words are a way to be tripped up, because they, unless you are exceedingly clear, people will interpret it the wrong way or their way.
Their way, yes, exactly. Their way.
Okay, they're not listening for what the communication is. They're looking at you going, wait, what does that mean? Oh, does it mean this? This is the way I've translated that word. So, to be really clear about it is really vital.
Yeah, I'm with you. What we're trying to, what this particular discussion is about, is this idea that getting stuck there or getting confused. This when whatever path of enlightenment you're on, whatever path you're moving towards, you will be told at a certain level that you've made it. You've reached. You've fulfilled all the requirements to become this. This level of master or
By
this
who?
level. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is those recognition points, those points at which somebody's going to tell you, whomever it is, that you've fulfilled this level of enlightenment, or you've reached this pinnacle, are easy to get stuck into, easy to get lost in, easy to then, in essence, feel as though you've made it to a certain level or plateau, and you are now the thing that you were striving to be. This goal has been reached, and yet, in essence, you've gone off. You've gone off into the weeds of, now I'm, whatever, a Reiki master, a light worker, an angelic, whatever it is. If
you identify yourself with that and then begin to walk, see, that's the issue. You say, I am a spiritual master, or I'm a light worker.
Right.
Okay, or a healer. And then you take a step in that direction and you go, well, if I'm a healer, then it's got to be this way. Then I've got to talk to these people. I can only speak to the ones that understand what it means to be a light worker, or the ones that can only run energy for healing, or That's when you trip.
Yes.
You have crossed the boundary into a being state where that which is all consciousness is working through you. And now, because you say, I am a healer, then, okay, so only healing energy, only people that need healing, only. It's like, no. You've bounded yourself up again. Perhaps the best way to look at it is understanding that all of these are facets of a jewel, facets of you. To understand that you have to explore or embrace all of it, not just the one facet that you happen to have discovered, enchanting though it may be.
Exactly. It is a sparkly thing. And the other thing, Margaret, is people will see the sparkle and compliment you and say, oh, what a wonderful sparkly thing you are. And it feels good. Again, the ego loves that. It loves praise. It loves accolades. It loves to be put up on the pedestal and say, you're so wonderful. And you're so you'll see it too. We know many, let's say, priests or
ministers.
Well, I really wanted to just say,
Rabbis.
Yes, all these the folks who we have met over the years, and the best ones are the ones, again, who are like Tolle. Their enlightenment, their light shines out from them, but they just aren't. They just are completely, totally uninterested in anything that isn't just allowing themselves to be without adding any of the titles or any of the accolades or any of the things that in essence just detract from the message. We've known good spiritual people who go from a certain state when you say this person has something. You can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it in their words, you can see the presence coming through, and then they get a promotion, or they get put into a different, oh well, now you're this, you have this title, and you get to go over here and you get to run this thing, and you see them maybe a year or two or some time later, and that light is not there anymore. Now they're spun up into, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and I have these, I have to run this thing and it's all.
Now it's got to run this way because this is who I am. This should be a certain flavor of something.
Right, and it's not that, in presence you can do all those things, but you see that the presence has faded, or it's withdrawn from its previous expression, and so the world almost seems to actively pile onto. When you see someone who's bringing in the spirit truly without any ego, or with very little ego, it's really just about the message, or it's really just about the energy, or just being that light, just being the light, and others are attracted, like moths to a flame, but then it sort of piles on, and there's this insidious, seductive offering, almost a Faustian bargain, right? Where the devil comes up and says, I'll give you this, but you have to give me that. Everything for your soul. In essence, all your enlightenment, all the being state that you're in, I'll give you this wonderful thing that you've always wanted, but what's the catch?
Your soul.
Yeah, or your being gets fettered again.
It's understanding that is exactly the problem.
Yeah, it isn't, maybe it's not intentional, truly intentional, but it seems to work out that way, that the path of enlightenment has these stones thrown into it, and some of the stones look very shiny. They look like gold. They look like diamonds. They look like the wonderfulest thing ever. I get to have the big house and the lovely car, and thousands telling me how wonderful I am, and it's just like, yeah, the little I, always wanted that.
Oh, hello?
Yes, there you go. And yet,
what that does is separates you from being alive. It catches you into this very rigid cycle of thinking. It's got to be this way. I've got to make it that way. This is who I am, so therefore it's got to have this and this and this and this. Oh, it's all these qualifications, and the ego has suddenly got something to tell you. Make sure you're like, oh yeah, this is who we are. This is who we are. So let's stay on. Let's see. There's you don't go over there. You're crossing that line, and it has nothing to do with being. You are not living. Therefore, you are slowly dying when you do that.
Yeah. Indeed. And you know what? Let's take that moment to take that thought into the break and go back to the studio for a little bit, and then we'll go back on the other side and see if we can find any more enlightenment.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lyons is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time. Moonstones and Murder. Real murderers need a heart of stone. Meet Maggie and Mike Heartstone, parents of twin boys, entrepreneurs, and now empty nesters. Mike is retired, not by choice, from his position as chief of police in the picturesque resort town of Hamilton. And now his wife Maggie and her shop, the Cozy Crystal, are their only source of income. When a mysterious killing interrupts Hamilton's famous Springfield Park rock show, the townsfolk, the Cozy Crystal, and their lives are rocked to the core.
can Mike and Maggie figure out who is behind the murderous deeds before the town comes crashing down around them. A touch of romance, a little mayhem, and a whole lot of suspense, along with plenty of comedy and thrills galore. Get your crystal magnifying glass out. It's time for some moonstones and murder. Available on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and other fine e-tailers in ebook and paperback. Out soon on Audible. Get your copy today.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir. There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Hello, this is Highway 59 recording artist Randy Moore, and you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us on The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Back to your hosts, it's Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, B-Man. And tonight we're talking about, in essence, we mentioned earlier signposts and how they can become confused with where you're going. Life is a journey, and really the point of it is to realize, to become aware, to become conscious, to become the experiential embodiment of spirit in form, and realize that you are spirit in form, that you are here for a period of time to experience incarnation and to bring that back to source, because that's all you are, and it's all you need to be is the embodiment of spirit in source. But in coming to that realization, there's a lot of, let's call them obstacles or challenges in the way, and even the path itself, the 7 steps to enlightenment or whatever it is, become an obstacle if you identify yourself as being the steps, as being the signposts, or even as being people unfortunately identify themselves with the way rather than the destination. You can get lost on your journey.
One way of putting it is if you're doing a spiritual practice or your religion, you're following your religion and you're following the precepts there, or you're doing any of the meditations that are trying to bring a higher energy in. I always liken that to a ladder. that you basically are leaning against the building to climb up to the next level. And when you get to the top of that ladder, when you finally reach a level, what a lot of people do is they don't let go of the ladder. They're just standing at the top. You're supposed to let go and move on to the next level. All right? And then some people, even though they've managed to reach that level, instead of looking around and seeing whether or not what this level has to offer me and I want to continue my journey, what they do is they go, okay, here's the ladder. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to use that to make my way over to the next level. It's like, I got it. I know how this is done. This is the ladder. I'm taking it, pulling it up, and putting it against the next whatever wall it may be. And you sit there and you're like, how do you know that ladder is tall enough? How do you know that the wall exists? How do you know? You haven't even really experienced the level that you are on. Is that what you really want to do? You've identified yourself with the ladder?
As the guy with the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing is, if you're carrying around a ladder, all you're going to find is walls.
True enough. Next wall.
Next wall.
Is that, and it's interesting because what that means is your mindset is looking for the wall.
Yes.
Realizing that you have programmed yourself to find a wall to use the ladder against.
Right. And that's so profound. I think we need to repeat it. You've learned. You maybe have constructed a ladder. You've spent years, decades, building the most beautiful ladder, and then that ladder has carried you up to the top. And then it feels like, I don't want to leave. This ladder took a long time to build. This is beautiful. This is perhaps the best ladder I've ever seen. I have to keep this ladder. It's inconvenient to carry, but I'm going to find a way to strap this ladder to my back and carry it around. And the next obstacle, rather than you looking for a wall, the next obstacle may be something very narrow, which the ladder won't fit into. And you may sit there and go, how am I going to get in here? I mean, I can't leave my ladder behind. And there you'll be, stuck as the person with the ladder, or the title, or the guru, or the mystic, or the light worker. It took you so many years and so much sacrifice, and you slaved and worked and meditated and did everything, and you became the best light worker of light workers, and there you are at the top. You are the light worker. You are the guru. You are at the top of the mountain. And if you carry it around with you, that's all you'll ever be, is the guru at the top of the mountain.
Well, you stopped at a level.
You've stopped at a level.
Because the next level is always far greater than what you could possibly conceive.
and being the guru, what did Sadhguru say? He wants to forever remain uneducated. Why? Because once you're the guru and you know you're the teacher, you're the master, you can no longer be taught. You can't go into the next level, because this implies a rebirth, a stripping of all form, a new innocence, a new, you're the fool, to use the tarot cards, you're the fool again. You're stepping off into the unknown. You're free, you're unfettered, your being state is free, and yet you want to clutter it. You want to clutch the ladder and keep the robes and hold all the things that you've had with you and bring all your books and everything you have, and you're toting around this giant, Marley or Scrooge-like chain of things that, I can't lose the ladder. The ladder might be important. No, you, the being, is important.
Your being state. is what allows the elevation. The ladder is a product.
That's exactly right. The ladder is a product, something that you made. It is truly the most you came up with the analogy of the ladder. It's a beautiful representation of form. It serves a purpose. It was something that you made.
Allowing yourself to let it go. Because how many people do we know that, I've spent years putting my time and effort and money into this. My life's breath, my span of life, how many decades have I done this? I can't just put it aside. I've invested too much.
It's too much me.
And you sit there and you go, an investment. So you looked at all this as an investment. How interesting. And people say, well, of course, I'm investing in me. It's like, yeah, your ego. But who are you really? You're more than just this thing you've produced. The ladder is a product that the ego loves because it has brought itself to a higher level. There is nothing wrong with that.
No.
Okay? But at that point, you must realize that you must let it go. And in letting it go, you may be able to gift it to others so that they can also climb. But the problem with that is when you made the ladder, it has all the stickiness of ego. So whoever accepts it is going to have to go through the same trial of the stickiness of ego.
That's a beautiful way of talking about any one of these paths. Is a great enlightened soul used these paths, built these paths, and has given you a ladder. Here's the 7 steps to enlightenment. Here's the way. Here's the law. Whatever it is, here's your ladder. But you don't get it scot-free. It has stickiness. It will require from you a different investment to learn the ladder, learn how to use it, and learn what to do, and all this. So you invest all your time, energy, whatever it is. The ladder may be difficult to climb. You have to get stronger. You have to all these things. It changes you. It puts you in a mode of someone who learns to climb that particular ladder or ride this particular bike or whatever it is. And you get to the top, and then you have to leave the ladder behind. And Margaret, it's all so scary. Well, if I leave the ladder behind, I won't know anything anymore. I won't know what to do. I won't have any rules. Oh my God, there won't be any rules.
Imagine.
Very scary. Because when the ego loves rules, because what is a rule? It's a way of doing it right, and of telling others that they're doing it wrong. And if you did it right, and I would be able to tell you you're doing it right.
Well, it's again, the ladder is showing you that you have to do it this particular way. Otherwise, you will not be stepping on the next tread. You'll be stepping out into space and falling.
Right. Yes.
So, understanding that, you can learn from it, the sharing. For some people, they've got to use something like that in order to surmount whatever troubles they may have. And there are those that go and build the ladders. But there's many ways in order to learn to get over yourself.
And you'll find, there's a couple of things, that the ladder, if you become aware that you're on the ladder, you can step off into space. You can step right off the ladder. It's what Tolle did in essence, or what the lightning bolt of illumination is that you suddenly realize, I'm on a ladder. I don't need this ladder. But if you do need the ladder, and Tolle says this too, he says, yes, use the ladder. Don't eschew the ladder. Take the ladder, take the steps, take the elevator, take whatever there is. Use all the tools that are presented to you. But eventually you're going to have to find the end of yourself, the end of the ladder, and realize that was not you. You're not the ladder. You're not the time. You're not the lovely thing about the word investment. When you said it before, I wanted to bring this up. Investment literally says to put oneself within.
Mm-hmm.
You invest. It's close to the word infest, but invest is to put oneself within an envelope, within a thing. You invest you, and you put a form around you, a shell, a woolly thing, clothing, investment, a vestiture. You get inside something, and it looks like you on the outside. You animate it. You're the investment within. Coming to the top of the ladder is removing the clothes. You're naked. You're newborn into a new world with nothing except what? Your being as a newborn child, newly come into the world, has nothing except its being. And in that in and of itself is precious.
Mm-hmm.
And requires no justification. It just is. And the isness of is the isness of a child. Here I am.
Oh, we love that, though. We just love that. But, we've gone through this whole thing, and you haven't read the quote.
Yeah, but I was waiting for you to do it.
You can read it.
That's so bad. All right, I'll try. Yes, we do have a nice Tolle quote. And as Tolle always says, he's very succinct. Although all spiritual teachings originate from the same source, once they become verbalized and written down, they are obviously no more than a collection of words. And a word is nothing more than a signpost. And when we were just talking about, once they become verbalized is once it becomes a ladder. Once you've made it into something, a word and a collection of words, or that becomes a whole set of instructions on how to do something, is just a ladder. It's a way. You read the words. You can think about the words and understand the words and interpret the words and put your own words on top of the words. But they're just signposts.
Well, it's all, as a signpost is, it's pointing to where you are supposed to be walking. And it's moving in that direction. That's the whole thing is understanding that being is moving through life, allowing life to express itself through you. And embracing that can be very difficult.
It's like those signs that you see, and they're lovely, T-shirt or wherever, sign says one way, and there's an arrow pointing up. But if you stand and just look at the sign, you're not moving up. And it's certainly if you start picking up every sign that you encounter along your way, you're going to get your hands full pretty soon, full of signs. You won't be able to see where you're going or move at all because you'll be so burdened by all the signposts that you've picked up along the way.
Well, it goes back to why do we collect all these forms? Why? And I believe because it's a lot easier than making any change for yourself internally. Because to be able to walk with that spirit or walk with the light or walk with the grace, it requires you to change.
Yes. And to be in the moment.
And we are creatures of habit.
Hmm.
We don't want to unlearn what we've learned.
No, it seems to attack your own sense of who you are. You know, remember the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz? What was the Scarecrow doing when he was first found? He was stuck on a pole, and he could point. So some people like to go this way, and some people like to go that way. He was nothing more than a signpost. And when they took him down off the pole, he could barely walk. He could barely move. You had to teach him how to move again. If you're there at the signpost and you're not moving, and life is just passing you by, and all you're doing in essence is saying, "Go that way," because that's the right way to go, and you don't want to go this way because that's the wrong way to go. You're stuck right there. You've become form and less than being, and you've diminished yourself in many ways. And it is easier to stand there and just point the way.
Well, it's a question of how long are you staying there?
Mm.
And is that really where you're supposed to be?
Very true. And you know, as we said before, when you are walking the path, you will be observed by others. And if you ignore that and stay in your being state, you may be followed by others. You may become somebody who is a signpost of sorts, but be a beacon rather than a signpost. Be something that moves and something which is still a being. And yes, you won't be able to be as Tolle is now. He's observed. He teaches hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. But instead of being the teacher or becoming a signpost, he just keeps moving. He keeps in the being state and giving of himself, his time and his energy, but still not associating his identity with that. Saying, well, I'm not a teacher. I'm just Eckhart.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask me a question, I will tell you what comes through me as a message for you. But I keep in my being state. I have to remain a beacon, an example, but just for a little while in form until form diminishes and goes away, but the being continues. And that's what you want to be. You don't want to be a guy with a ladder or a scarecrow on a pole telling people which way to go or carrying around all your knowledge. But you can be the being, the enlightened, and be an example.
When I was speaking to a number of people who were teaching all sorts of energetic practices, I realize now that many times they're allowing stuff to come through for other people, but for themselves, they were stagnant.
Mm.
And they would get sour, if you would, or cranky, because it seems like everything's going out for all these other people. What about me?
Mm-hmm.
And it would come up in many different forms. Getting testy about certain things. Well, I'm the teacher. I said this. It's like it was only a question. So to be aware that the main purpose of any one person is to be able to hold yourself in the present moment completely. And the rest comes.
Yes, and I think the present moment this is the end of the show.
All righty then. Well, I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael.
And thank you for listening.